So Miller Moss is in the transfer portal. And let me tell you, with how it looked coming into this season and how the season began, there is no way, and I mean no way, that I could have predicted Miller Moss winding up in the transfer portal. But he gets benched. Turns out he wasn't entirely the problem at USC, which is why he's going to be one of the more highly coveted quarterbacks that finds a new home this offseason. But Jaden Mayava comes in for him, and he decides, all right, I'm going elsewhere. And is USC running it back with Jaden Mayava next year at quarterback? I mean, he did plenty of good things. I don't know that he's a Heisman Trophy caliber guy, but Miller Moss was in that conversation early in the season, gets the big win against LSU, played great in the Holiday Bowl last year. I mean, everything was lining up for Miller Moss to be the next Lincoln Riley college quarterback that plays at an incredibly high level. And he's more in the Baker Mayfield mold than Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts with regards to his running ability, and it just didn't work out. And I think plenty of people are going to dog on this particular They're going to dog on Miller Moss. Be like, oh man, well, he wasn't any good. He couldn't do this. Two things. Number one, USC's offensive line wasn't good. Was not good. In the last 2 years, you can harp on USC's defense all you want. USC's defense improved this season, but they regressed. Why? Their offense was not the same. You can look at the quarterback position. Miller Moss was not perfect. I'm not trying to argue that he was. He wasn't the solution, but he was not entirely the problem. But USC's inability to win in the trenches on either side of the ball is the primary reason they ended the regular season 6-6. And once again, I will throw this out there. Please, someone listening, run it up the chain to someone who's more involved and important than myself. Get 6-6 Oklahoma against 6-6 USC in a bowl game right now. Right now, everyone would watch that. It would be the most watched ReliaQuest Bowl imaginable. The Fenway Bowl. I don't care. I don't care what the bowl tie-ins are. Somebody make that happen, and you're going to get a fat number on TV, because that's a game I'd be interested in, you'd be interested in, and those fan bases would be interested in, Oklahoma in particular. So please make that happen. I would be so happy. Anyway, back to the point here. Miller Moss did not have a great offensive line, did not have a great run game. When you think about the close losses USC had this year, 2 of them came down to one play or one sequence in which they lost in the trenches. Defensive line lost on 4th and goal at Michigan. Offensive line lost down in the goal line against Washington. It's a couple of yards. That's the difference between 8-4 and 6-6. That was the difference for USC. So, and with regards to Jaden Mayava, I watched throw a couple pick sixes against Notre Dame last week. So I'm not saying he can't be good. He's clearly got plenty of talent, but I didn't notice a huge change in USC as a football team with Mayava from Miller Moss. So if you can go to a situation that has got a stable, offensive-minded coach, I think is a good place for Miller Moss to be, and enough of a unit up front, Miller Moss can be successful. So Louisville is one team that stands out to me that has been really solid the last couple of years. They ended with a big win against Kentucky to close out the regular season. They brought in Tyler Shough, who was a veteran transfer that had bounced around a little bit, had some success, but not as much as he was hoping for. He popped this year. Tyler Shough played some of the most underrated football in the country this season. So the idea of Miller Moss going there, a guy who's had spotty success, who's been around college football for a while, who's sat on the bench, he's not quite as big, he's not quite as mobile as Tyler Shough, but he's every bit as capable with the arm talent if you get him in the right system. I like that. Jeff Brohm is one of the best coaches in the country. Look at what happened to Purdue when he left. It went downhill. He had him in the conference championship game. Yeah, they got shut out against Michigan, but they were there. He left 4-8, 1-11. They're looking for another new coach. Jeff Brohm is really good. So I think that'd be a great home. Now, the other interesting teams are in the Big Ten, Michigan and Iowa. Those are reportedly the schools that are going after Miller Moss. I'll start with Michigan. Do not rule this out. If Miller Moss had been Michigan's quarterback this year, They end the regular season 7-5. They are at least 8-4, if not 9-3. They could not throw the football at all. They don't need a guy that's going for 250 to 300 a game. And that's what you thought Miller Moss would be, right? He had that big game in the Holiday Bowl against Louisville, by the way, so at least some familiarity. Jeff Brohm has seen him up close and personal, and Miller Moss has seen what Louisville's all about in the football field. And that was a good game. USC won, but I'm just saying, you never know. But for Michigan, they don't need that guy who's going for 406 touchdowns. No, they need 202 touchdowns. That's it. Sometimes they only need 150. And one touchdown, and just don't turn the football over. And that was part of the reason I think that Miller Moss got benched at USC, turned the football over a little bit, got inaccurate throwing the ball. I think he just needs a reset. I think he just needs the right sort of spot. I think Michigan could be that. I'll throw in Iowa as the dark horse, because same sort of deal as Michigan, but lower stakes as a program. You don't have to do a lot. You're going to win with a ground game and defense at Michigan and Iowa. Iowa's just a lesser version of what Michigan has been the last several years, right? So I think he could succeed either of those spots, but Louisville would be the number one spot that I think he could go and win. And I know what Michigan fans might say. Well, wait, Bryce Underwood's coming in. Do you want to win a conference championship in the year 2025? I imagine you probably do. Can you name for me the last true freshman quarterback to start and win a conference championship at the Power 4 level? You go ahead. You got to go back a ways. You got to go back a serious ways. A guy who came in, started game one, played the rest of the season, won a Power 4 conference championship. Who was the last guy to do that? Someone can correct me if my trivia knowledge is off, but pretty darn sure it was a guy by the name of Trevor Lawrence. And the number of true freshmen that start and don't reach that level is a lot higher. A lot higher. So the Michigan thing could make plenty of sense. Veteran quarterback, mentor Bryce Underwood, let him learn the system for a year, Cade McNamara to J.J. McCarthy style. That handoff, I think, could be incredibly logical. Last thing on today's show, Kaden Salter's in the portal. This is a curious one. So Salter began his career at Tennessee. He transferred to Liberty, had a lot of success. Last year, was able to lead the Flames to an undefeated season, Conference USA championship, went to the Fiesta Bowl, and they got shellacked by Oregon. This year, not the season Liberty and Jamie Chadwell were looking for. I don't look at Kaden Salter, like he's kind of a big-ish name in the quarterback transfer portal market, which I don't think is going to be nearly as popular or buzzing as it was a season ago. I think John Mateer at Washington State, who hasn't hit the transfer portal as I'm recording the show, that's one of the bigger names that could hit the transfer portal. We'll see others. Connor Wigman is out there as well, and I'll probably have some thoughts on him on tomorrow's show. But I'm not a huge Kaden Salter at the Power 4 level guy. But for all my G5 football fans out there, this is an option. I think about, now, Maddox Madsen is a young guy, so he probably comes back to Boise State. But Jason Entz just got hired over at Fresno State. If they were in need of a quarterback, I could see him having success. And that's a guy who I think could take a Group of 5 team, lead you close to the college football playoff. I think he can get you there. I don't think he can do that in the Big Ten or SEC. I don't even think in the ACC or in the Big 12. Maybe he proves me wrong, but this is a name is going to land somewhere, and when he does, it is going to be discussed on this very show because he's a notable quarterback who's got some experience and has been productive under Jamie Chadwell at Liberty, but I do not believe that he is someone who is going to go to a major program. Like, that's not a guy who Auburn looks at and says, is that our answer at quarterback next year? No, he is not. Would Auburn look at Connor Wegman? That's a discussion for another day. Appreciate everyone listening. I'll see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.